Hey everyone, it's Manav, and in today's video we'll be talking about the fastest way to scale your high-ticket coaching business by understanding the core concept of value creation. And before I even begin onto anything, just see this bro, like 17 pages, took me more than 72 hours to prepare for it. Why will it work for you? Well, it worked for me, as you can see on the screen, worked for my client, as you can see again, and like got inbound leads, booked calls, and bunch of more testimonials. So quick thing, it's gonna be boring, right? So if you cannot make through this video, I don't know what to say to you, but in my opinion or in my recommendation, just watch a few minutes and decide for yourself, right? So overview of the video. So first thing we'll be doing is understanding the types of reality. And look, it might seem irrelevant, but it's really, really important for you to understand the core concept of value creation, which then you will use to, like as an advantage over your competitors, right? And then second thing will be like understanding humans. And then third thing will obviously be like understanding value creation, right? Anyways, talking about the first type of reality, which is nothingness, like trees, animals, houses, stars, universe, right? So what I mean by this, well, all the things you can see, they are given meaning by humans, right? Or to be more specific, the lens of human, which give meaning to the things, right? So for example, right, tree, big or small, like human categorize these things. Animal, grass eating or meat eating, humans categorize it. House, apartments, penthouse, high rise, mansions, like human categorize these things. Otherwise, it's just like a box that you live in, right? So, if there are no humans, then there is no judgment. And if there is no judgment, then it just exists, right? And it still is a kind of reality, which I like to call nothingness, but like in reality it's called like objective reality, right? So again, like example, water, still or sparkling, humans categorize it. Countries like India or Russia, like land is same but like humans categorize it, right? So this is called like subjective reality, in which like things just exist as they are and it still makes sense, right? So just keep these things in your mind, while understanding humans and understanding value creation. This is gonna be really helpful, right? So moving on to the second type of reality, which is human paradigms, right? So understand that each human have an invisible lens, which we call paradigm, right? This lens can never be 100% same for two people. Now, before we even discuss the second type of reality, let's see like how this lens is formed and how your lens would probably be formed over the period of years, right? So we're gonna take example, so let's just say like this is Joe. Oh, and by the way, if you want to add 20k to 50k MRR to your high ticket coaching business, you can book a quick call with me from the first link in the description, right? So Joe is 6 months old and really knows nothing about the world, right? And have no paradigm or lens to view the world, right? And let's fast forward a few months later when Joe turns 1 year old. His parents decide to go to a different country to celebrate his birthday, and let's say it's Japan, right? For no particular reason, but whatever. And just for the context, when someone does not have a lens or they don't have a paradigm, which means like they're still absorbing things, right? So for Joe, like he knows nothing, right? Which is why like he's still absorbing things. So Joe is kind of like a sponge, right? Who just absorb things like emotions, motives, desires, beliefs, and he do all of that unknowingly, right? Now let's say that Joe on his trip experiences a few things. Let's say that he sees that people bow down to greet each other, right, or give respect to each other. Second thing he notices is that everyone likes this like noodle like thing which called ramen, right? And then third thing is like people stop their cars when the light turns red and starts when moving again when it turns green, right? So now Joe as a kid is now starting to create his own lens, right? Now before Joe had a lens, it was just food, right? Like it did not really matter like what kind of food. But now from his experiences he concluded that ramen is probably the best thing to eat, right? But since Joe is new to this thing and have not much proof to call it his final truth, which is why like as he grows up, he will have different experiences, and that experiences will refine or either reshape Joe's lens, right? So yeah, I hope that made sense, right? And this is how paradigms are created or formed, right? This was just like a quick example, and obviously there is a lot more to it, but it's good enough for you to understand for now, right? Since you understand the first type of reality, it was just food, right? But Joe categorized it and got a belief that ramen is the best. So the second type of reality is called the subjective reality, and this reality is based on people's perception, belief, experiences, assumptions, and like all of those things, right? So this is really good example. So there were these like 5 or 6 people, and they were just like blindfolded, and in front of them was an elephant, right? Different people touching the different parts of elephant, thinking different things, right? So like the person who touch here thinks like it's a snake, and then who touches like in front of it says that it's a spear, right? And then like the one who touches on the top says that it's a fan. And this is how like people's personal sensory type affect their reality, right? So like people have 5 senses, which is like touch or smell or all of these things, right? So yeah, when they were touching, their subjective reality was different. So second thing is understanding humans. So we're gonna be seeing how people do evolve from a kid to a grown person, to which you have to actually sell, right? And why is it important? Because no one really gave importance or attention to this kid, which is why to gain again like to gain immense advantage over your competitors, you have to understand your customer very well, and that is who you have to serve at the end of the day, right? So let's bring back Joe. So between the ages of 0 and 18, just as we saw above, Joe will have like multiple different experiences like these, of going to Japan, or like understanding like the food or all of these things, right? And these experiences will build the foundation for his later personal belief, desires, goals, perception, pain, problems, and all of these things, right? Why till 18? Well, in reality, people do really, refine their lens or paradigm till the absolute end of their life. But because a lot of people around the ages of 18 to 25 think that, like they have seen the world, or like they know how world works, which is why, like, because of their ego, they stop refining their belief, and they stop learning new things, and they are not willing to, look at things from a different perspective, which is why, like, as a result of their ego, they stay at the same place all of their life, right? Now let's get a quick summary kind of thing for Joe, right? Between the ages of 0 and 18. Why till 18? Cause like of the above reason, but also like our target audience would usually between the ages of 18 and 30, right? So anyways, Joe was born as a sponge, right? Metaphorically, obviously, and was a sponge till the ages of 0 to 7 or 0 to 10, right? And this is the ages where, like, like these kids like absorb a lot of things, right? Then with that information and inputs he has gathered between the ages of 0 to 7 or 0 to 10, well, like, just to give you an example, like, just say like Joe had 100 belief around um psychology of people, right? So for example, like, if he spilled milk on the table, he understand that his parents get angry, right? Then like he might have seen his friend do the same thing and his parents reacted a different way, right? So he will try and connect the dots after the ages of 10 or 7, depending on, like, person to person, and then he will form his final belief for at least a few years, and then he will live by that belief, right? So what do I mean by this? Look at it like this. Let's say that the experiences of Joe, his environment, his friend circle, his temporary belief are like different paint colors, right? And now around the ages of 10 to 14 or 10 to 15, he's gonna try and create a painting that he likes the most from the above paint colors, right? And this process will happen multiple times in their life. So fast forward a few years later, let's say that Joe is 20 years old, right? And this is Joe, and this is Joe's subjective reality based on his personal experiences, as we talked above, right? So his experiences, assumptions, and belief, right? Now this is a made up reality that Joe believes to be true because it's too true from his lens, right? Now, like, but like, what is actual reality? Because everyone is not gonna look from Joe's personal lens, right? So what is reality? Well, the answer is perspective, right? Because like my lens would be completely different from his lens, right? As I told you above that, um, like, the lens can never be 100% same for two different people, right? Which is why, like, to everyone reality is different, which is why, like, it matters on perspective, right? So now you understand that in reality nothing is completely true or false, but it's just perspective, right? So now you understand that people you are trying to sell, for example, they don't buy your services not because they, like, your services wouldn't help them, but because, like, maybe they are looking at things from different perspective, right? So, and I'm gonna tell you, like, how to change it and all of these things. So yeah, and we are at the good part, like value creation. So since you now understand humans are like how humans are evolved over the ages, let's truly understand the value creation, right? So imagine that this is a person that you are trying to sell, and this is their current situation, which is like bad relationship, bad health, bad money. Basically, these are the umbrella under which people would have different problems, and this is the desired situation of that person, which is like good health, good relationship, good money. Now, there exists a gap in between of their current situation and desired situation, and this gap is the pain, right? So, when you help someone get rid of this pain, value is created. But look, why does like the pain exist in the first place? Why like people cannot have any pain? Because well, it exists because people in their day-to-day life encounters a ton of problems, and the consequences of not solving that problems or the outcome of not solving that problem creates pain, right? But then like how are problems really created in the first place? Because like if people wouldn't have problem, there would be no pain, right? So how are problems actually created, right? So I'm gonna come back to this, like diagram kind of thing. But now if we bring back Joe, let's just say he's 20 years old, and by now his life would have multiple different beliefs, desires, traumas, experiences, and infinite more things, right? So, for example, let's say that Joe is 7 years old, and one of really basic human need is love and safety. So, if we go here, you can see like one of the really basic human needs is love and belonging, right? And to fulfill this basic human need of love and safety, one of the really important components is attention, right? But whenever Joe really tried to get attention from his dad yelled at him, right? For example, so Joe instilled a belief in himself that if I ask for love, people get mad. It's safer to stay quiet, right? So when now Joe is, let's just say, like 20 years old, well, he still needs love and connection because that is basic human need. But when he come across a girl that he actually likes, he want to get close to her, but he also have a really big fear of rejection because of his earlier experiences with his dad, right? Now this creates internal conflict, right? Now to tell you like what is internal conflict, again, like he wanna have like love and connection, but because of his earlier experiences and his false belief that if he asks for love people get mad, there is this internal conflict, right? And because of this internal conflict, Joe has now anxiety and he starts pulling away from people and he feels lonely, right? And because of this internal conflict, problems are created, and the consequences of not solving the problem or the outcome of not solving the problem creates pain, right? So since you now understand how pain is actually created, the next thing you got to understand is how to bridge your product slash service as a solution to this pain, right? So just a quick summary. Well, pain is created because of problems, right? And problems is created because of internal conflicts. And how internal conflicts are created? Well, as an example, Joe wanted love and safety as his basic human needs, but his dad yelled at him and he instilled a belief that if I ask for love, people get mad. So this created internal conflict, and internal conflict created problems like anxiety, overthinking, and feeling lonely. And because of these problems, he have pain of not finding love and connection, right? The next big thing is like how to pitch your product slash service as a solution to this pain. Well, look, if I went up to Joe and I tell him that, hey, I'm a therapist and you need my services because you're anxious, he's not gonna buy because of his ego, right? He will not accept that he have anxiety because he might like think that I am judging him for being weak, right? Which is not the reality, but like his ego is too big to understand that. So how do you actually make Joe realize that he have anxiety, and if he does not fix it, he will be alone for the rest of his life? Well, the best way to do it is let Joe think and come to that conclusion himself, right? So quick warning, this information is like really, really powerful. So use it wisely or it bite back 10 times harder, right? So back to the topic. My job is to make Joe feel this pain, and he's only gonna feel this pain if he reaches to the conclusion himself, right? I cannot make him feel any pain, right? And people freak here a lot. They think that they can create pain out of the thin air, which is not true. You can only amplify the existing pain, right? Or you can make them aware of their existing pain. So how do you do it? So let's just say that the pain of Joe is like he do not have a girlfriend and he does not feel loved, right? And the goal of the the goal for me is to make Joe realize that he have anxiety, and because of this anxiety he have fear of rejection, and because of that fear of rejection he does not go up to girls and talk. And since he does not go to anyone and he does not talk, he don't have a girlfriend, and because he don't have a girlfriend he does not feel loved, right? So how will I do this? Through my YouTube videos, right? So I will probably follow a chain of belief somewhat like this, right? Most people think that the reason they don't have a girlfriend is because they don't look good, or like something else. But when in reality, like, it's something different, right? The real reason people don't have a girlfriend is because they don't interact with them, right? They don't interact with enough number of girls to really find the one that like they want to be together with. So, and the real reason most people don't go up to girls and talk is because the fear of getting rejected, right? And in all honesty, it's not their fault, because the fear of rejection does not mean that you're scared, it just means that you overthink too much. And the real reason people overthink too much in 99% of cases is because they have anxiety and they don't even realize it. Oh, and by the way, I am a therapist, so if you want help with this, or if this is who you are, then you can book a quick call with me. And following this chain of belief, you will probably like, um, let Joe think and understand that he was the one who was anxious and had anxiety, and now he's gonna book call with you, right? So now you understand that value creation is basically leveraging pain to help people transform, and in reality this transformation is what you sell. So yeah, that was it for the video, and I hope it really made sense. If you like the video, well, there is button for it below, and you can subscribe to the channel if you want. And if you have an idea that you want me to create video on, just drop that in comment, and if I think I can, I will, right? So yeah.